I guess we both will never know.
I know. But yeah, but I think it's a very interesting subject to talk about because the school that I went to, Smith, is a predominantly like white institution, and it's a women's college as well. And so I remember like people like with their significant others would come like to the dining halls, and so seeing boys was kind of like, oh, like who's he with, or like what's he doing here, like this is our territory kind of thing. And so like that, and then we would know like who's dating who then, because like as I mentioned, like there're just a few people there like who are boys. And then I remember like when I went to visit my sister during breaks, and she went to Boston University, and so I'd see like a lot of people, like couples, and like dining halls, and like that it was very like normalized there because obviously boys also go to their school. And so I think it like the experience is different for everybody depending on the school that you went to and the culture of the school that you went to. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, yeah, I agree 100% with that. I think, for example, for my school, was, how can I say, more, I mean, so our campus was a wet campus. So there were quite a lot of activities, parties on campus. We had an undergraduate bar on campus. And our student body, Rice's student body, was rather small. So you kind of had the opportunity to actually get to know quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, is that a good or bad thing? I think the social environment was actually extremely positive. So you could definitely like, relationships were very normalized and you could easily meet somebody if you wanted to. But also, I think given our size, I think since a lot of people knew each other, if you did end up dating around, I think that a lot of people would know. And
Right.
one of those things where if you have to deal with a smaller pool of people, there's
Mm,
sometimes there can be 1 degree of separation between you and the other person.
right. Right.
So in that way, I think a larger school probably is easier,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure a larger school, you can take the risk of dating or being in a relationship, and if things end,
Mm-hmm.
you probably don't run the risk of seeing that individual again or being in the same circle. But with a smaller university, I think that's less likely to happen.
Right. Right.
Like you are more likely to see or bump into that person. And so I guess maybe it makes exploring a little bit less likely for you, or you won't take that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity as much.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think that's also very interesting what you raised. Like there are certain limitations as well because I mean for me personally, I don't like it when people are like involved in my what is it called, in my life so deeply. Like as you said, like in a smaller college or like in a smaller community, like people would know who you're with, and like every little detail, and like that used to bother me, like for other people. Um because it's very fragile, you know what I mean, like, and things can get interpreted in like a different way, and like it's also the cause of many breakups, like having someone else becoming involved in your own relationships. And I think like those limitations are very true, like for people who go to smaller universities, because you might not want to people to know who you're dating, and you might not have that kind of freedom to explore. And I think that's a very valid point that you brought up.
Yeah. At that point, yeah, I feel like at that age, at least with these kind of things, you might be more private, or, you're still, again, kind of still the practice zone, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I, I don't know about you, but in general, especially with like dating, and especially when you're younger, your friend groups mesh as well. So you end
Right.
up hanging out with the same people at the end of the day. So
Yep.
that can make things a little bit messier if things don't work
Mm-hmm.
out.
Exactly. Exactly. And at the same time, I think it's very rare for like people to stay together while in college and then afterwards, I mean, it does happen, I know it does happen, but for me personally, at least from like the friends that I had, or like the people that are in my life, it's kind of rare to have that kind of long-term relationship succeed. into I guess marriage, I guess, like long term. But I think one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was like, do you think it's difficult to date in college, and why do you think it is difficult to date and have like a an intentional relationship with someone while being a student?
So I'm going to say two things. Like first, I want to say weirdly, Rice University. So although a lot of people don't like continue to date after college,
Mm-hmm.
we have like a really weirdly high rate of Rice University students getting married after college.
What?
So
Wow.
just so
Are you
you
serious?
know,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Wow.
Actually, I think is it two or oh yeah, two of my no three of in my inner circle of friends from university. Three of them, like, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean like from my seven best friends kind of thing. Three of
Mm-hmm.
them ended up meeting outside of college, Rice people, and marrying them.
Oh my
So,
God. Wow. Well,
um,
I guess it's
yeah.
different for everybody.
So yeah, go to Rice if you want to meet your future husband or wife. Uh, no, but yeah, so I thought that was like a funny little anecdote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But as far as is it difficult to date in college?
Mm-hmm.
For multiple reasons, yes. If you're right at that point, you could be first, obviously we talked about studies, so I'm going to go and like diverge into a different topic.
No worries.
Forgetting studies, how about your social life? A lot of people are partying at that age as well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's a lot of alcohol, maybe other types of drugs, who knows,
Who knows? Yeah.
going on. Those like that kind of environment doesn't necessarily make the best for facilitating a
Mm-hmm.
relationship or
Mm-hmm.
making good decisions. Um, yeah, so I think that again, that's kind of depending on the person you are, that's just one of those like experimental phases. And because of how either or it could go,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like the most stable platform for a relationship. Let's say
Right.
that. So I think in general. And I mean, we all know that. I feel that when we are either intoxicated or on anything else that, we're not ourselves as much. And so
Mm-hmm.
obviously being around a partner or mitigating that or having a relationship in phases of your life where you're going to indulge in that kind of behavior more is
Mm-hmm.
rather difficult.
Right. Right. No, like you mentioned like a lot of really interesting points. Like as you said, like, while you're a student in college, like you're not technically like the best version of yourself because there are a lot of things going on at the same time. Um, and I agree, like it's not um it's not really the most stable place or like the most I don't know what to call it, but it's not grounded, you know what I mean? Like people are experiencing different things at the same time, and so behaviors change, personalities change from year to year, from semester to semester, and like it's a time where people are growing a lot and changing a lot at the same time. And so I think it's hard for people to stay in those kinds of long-term relationships while in college because a lot of change is happening, and I really do agree with that.
Yeah, I think the most beneficial relationships to build in college are probably with friends,
Mm-hmm.
because you're all going through that. And ideally, if you get lucky, you can find a group of people who don't judge you for going through whatever kind of experimentation or whatever kind of
Mm-hmm.
situations that you end up facing. And they'll be kind of not only supportive, but they'll also be having, their own things that they're
Right.
going through as
Right.
well. So
Right.
you can kind of like share that experience, and that can be a really good foundation for very strong
Mm-hmm.
friendships.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, totally.
yeah, but as far as you know, long lasting relationships, if we're talking about not just dating but like serious relationships, I think it's rather difficult because
Mm-hmm.
some of these experiences are also your first, so you don't know how you're going to be reacting to these situations or
Exactly.
handling them. So I think that there's a lot to process there.
Exactly. You know, I totally agree. And I also believe, like, you know, looking back on my own experience, like college is where I met one of, you know, my closest friends, or like really, you know, deep connections that I made with people and with my friends were in college, because that was the time where, you know, we were independent, you know, we were trying to figure out what our values were, what we you know, what we hold true. And it's the best place to meet people who align with your values and share your priorities, and, you know, kind of think in the same wavelength. And I think it's the best place for you to really explore yourself and get to know yourself more, and then also find other people who relate with you. And yeah, for me personally, I think if it wasn't for, like, it really didn't matter where I went to college, because I was able to like meet really incredible people who have become, you know, lifelong friends. And I think that's one of the things that I'm grateful for, about my experience in college, the people that I met, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the same goes for me. I think I met some great individuals in college, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm still, again, I'm relatively very close to my friend group that's from college.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're up to very different things. We live in different places now. Some
Mm-hmm.
of us are married, some of us are not, some of us have kids even.
Right.
But
Right.
we've remained really close. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot to do with the experiences we shared at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
and how we responded to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
As within our friendships as well. It's not only about sharing circumstances or situations. It's also about, you know, being there for each other, being supportive, you know, being comfortable to also learn from each other. Because I
Mm-hmm.
definitely learned quite a lot, like I said, whether it be by open communication or weirdly knitting. I learned quite a lot from my college friends.
Right.
And I think it's because of, you know, that honesty that we had with ourselves that
Mm-hmm.
we are still such good friends today.
Right. Right. And I'm very happy, because, you know, a lot of people that I talk to um also talk about like the importance of friendship in college, and the kinds of people that you hang out with kind of, you know, it defines you, you know, when um you know, the people that you choose to spend your time with, it's a huge deal, because you spend a lot of time with your friends, you know, whether it be studying or sleepovers or going to the movies. Like, these are people that you have with you 24/7, who are going to influence you in some kind of way. And so having people that share your same values is very, very valuable. And I was having conversation with my friend the other day, and we're talking about how, you know, a lot of times, like, um you know, relationships are, you know, it's the topic that gets the most attention, and like dating and stuff like that, but we don't really appreciate the friendships, you know, that we develop and form, and like the friends that we have. And I don't know, do you agree with that?
Yeah, you know, sometimes we don't realize, so we don't look around. I mean, I have seen it several times that people have great relationships around them. And when I say relationships, yeah, okay. So maybe they're not intimate relationships with a partner you're going to share your life with, but
Mm-hmm.
relationships with, you know, friends that are amazing,
Mm-hmm.
valuable, honest, you know, some certain things that, in all honesty, I think as we grow older,
Right.
we see as actually a lot rarer. It's not
Mm-hmm.
as easy to make truly honest and welcoming friends, and we do take it for granted. We don't discuss those relationships and how valuable they are to our sense
Exactly.
of being, to our mental health. You know,
Mm-hmm.
how they help us like create and continue to kind of defend the identity that we have. We don't
Mm-hmm.
really discuss friendships or hold that to as high of a regard. And let me tell you something, like, even if you're in a serious relationship, what's going to, you know, prop you up, or there's also is going to be your friends as well. Um,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
your, of course, your partner, the partner that you choose should be a friend, you know, as far as you
Mm-hmm.
should be comfortable talking with them about anything. But at the same time, you're going to need different, you know, outlets, different sources that you can go to. And that's where your friends are lifelong. Your friends will
Mm-hmm.
be that kind of steady relationship. They're probably the longest relationship we're going to have. Let's be serious here. So
Right. I know.
we can take them for granted.
Right. Right. And I think that is the hallmark of a healthy relationship, is when you still get to maintain your friends while still being committed to someone else. And I think that's also one of the things that's difficult about dating. college, because some people, they just, commit themselves like 100% to this one person, and kind of ignore or like forget that they have friends. And I think it's all about balance. The time that you spend with your friends is necessary for you. And then, the time you spend with your partner is also a priority. But I think having, part of having a healthy relationship is trying to, dedicate time to each of your relationships, not just your romantic one, right?
Yeah, I agree. And also, your romantic relationship. So if your partner in your romantic relationship is the only person that you talk to and the only person that you see every day, it'll be very strenuous for the relationship. As in, that's a possible thing. People think that if, it's meant to be, that you can spend every single living moment with that person, and that person should be the it person for every
Right.
single thing that you're going through. But that's
Right.
absolutely not true. I mean,
Right.
I think that if, you're kind of a little bit more caught up on your own being as well as mental health, that you have to equally disperse that that person, that one individual cannot be responsible for every single like emotional, basically emotional support that you may need. So you need to kind of divvy that up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it
And
does.
that's why having a healthy friend group and healthy friendships really go hand in hand with having a
Right.
healthy relationship as well,
Right.
and again, when you're in a relationship, like, that person should also be able to understand why you need time with your friends, and your friends should also be able to understand why you need time with your relationship, it goes both ways, honestly. And
Right.
ideally, also, work really well together. Hopefully your partner also along with your friends. And then,
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, I agree 100% with what you said. So is there anything else that you think that we did not touch upon or like mention throughout the conversation?
no, I think I really enjoyed kind of delving very naturally into the steady flow. So I think
Right.
I love we covered almost basically everything. I mean, maybe we went a little bit outside of college, but if we're
I
just
mean,
talking about long-term relationships,
and I
delve a
think, yeah, these lessons apply not just, for people in college, but also as we're trying to figure out life. These are, lifelong lessons that we learn along the way. So yeah. So as we're ending our conversation, do you have any advice for current international students or for prospective international students who are dealing with the topic of dating and relationships?
Ooh, advice. You trust me with that? Okay. Here we go. Here we
Yeah.
go. We're building up to it. So I guess what I would say is be honest with yourself. I don't want to sway anybody into dating or not dating in college. I don't think that's the point of my conversation. I know me and Ruth
Right.
both haven't dated in college, like at least serious dated. When I say dated, I mean
Right.
serious relationship wise, not hook up. But I think just being honest with yourself and not letting other people kind of dictate what you need or want or desire from a relationship. I know that's very difficult to do at that point. But if you need to make a list of like what you want or what you prioritize, before kind of exploring the world of hookups, dating, and
Right.
relationships, so that you're not feeling pressured by either option, and that once you are in those situations, like what you want out of them.
Right. Right. 100%. I agree with that totally. And the only thing I would add is, being self-aware is going to serve you, in the long term as well. Like, not just in terms of like dating and relationships or like trying to choose a partner, but also in everything that you do in life. You have to know what your values are. You have to know, um, you know, what your priorities are. And college is a time where a lot of things are new. You're experiencing things for the first time. And so it could get really tempting to kind of fall into the cycle of the peer pressure, or like trying to date someone just for the sake of dating. But even if you decide to date someone, or even if you decide not to date someone, I think the only common denominator here is you. And so you have to try to make sure that what you're doing is what you value. And if you date, just learn from the experience and try to build upon that into the next relationship, and try to take lessons and like learn from your mistakes, I guess, even if you do decide to date, I guess.
Yeah, and don't take anything personally.
That's a big one.
Yeah, as in, if it doesn't work out, there's nothing wrong with you. I feel like a lot of people think that at that age, that there's something wrong with you, that there's something that needs to be changed. Don't try to change everything about yourself because it didn't work out with somebody. And also don't try to change things about yourself to be more appealing to somebody. Honestly, if it wasn't like, you will definitely have a lot more relationships one way or another. And if it's moment to end, it should give you more of a reflective being for yourself, rather than trying to see how you could have fit better into that person's world or that person's identity. So I feel like, be a little bit kinder to yourselves.
I love that. And with that, we end a wonderful conversation of the Internationally podcast. Please make sure to go follow the official Instagram page at Internationalie by Ruth, that is LIE, and send an email with your questions and concerns about being an international student to internationallybyruth@gmail.com. Thank you again for tuning in today. I hope you have a lovely week ahead of you, and take care of yourselves, everybody. And thank you, Maki, for this wonderful conversation. I was really happy that we were finally able to do this.
Me too. I had a great time.
Awesome. All right. Bye-bye.